Good afternoon, everybody. It is 5:14 p.m. Mountain Time on Friday, May 21st, and today we're talking Bitcoin. Yes, altcoins. Yeah, they're tradable. They're tradable, so don't think they're not tradable. But if I talk about all the altcoins, this video is going to be over an hour long. I'm going to mention a few just that we had mentioned before, and there is one that I want to talk about specifically, why I like it and why I have my reservations about it. Anyways, if you do like what you watch, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe button. Or if you liked any videos in the past, if any of this is helpful to you, that'll be great. Also keep in mind that none of this is to be considered financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is for entertainment, informational, and educational purposes only. I am just a trader. However, I do have opinions and I will share those. So let's start talking Bitcoin. So first, what happened? Right, we're going to talk about what happened. So obviously we crashed down through the 200, bounced at $30,000 on the dot. So if that's the low, then Dan Fitzpatrick, you are a genius, because it was like back here, he said, I like Bitcoin at 30,000, and it bounced exactly on 30,000. Now to the downside, if we close below this 30,000, I'm out and I'm backing off for a while, because then I see us coming down to this gap at 23,759 and possibly this gap at 18,460. I can see this happening should we close below 30,000 one day, and I will be out and I will be watching. I won't even be trading it. I say that now, but if I see something I like, I'm going to trade it. Anyways, the reason that if we close below there, I could see that happening is like it just would make sense, and it would line up that if you look at the weekly chart on Bitcoin, if you look at the weekly chart, the 200 weekly moving average, simple weekly moving average, 200 week simple moving average is at 12,600. So this isn't going to happen overnight. Should we break this? I mean, you could have a few weeks where it is just range bound in here, and that 200 week moving average is going to rise, and right now it's at 12,600, and who knows, maybe by the time it rises up to 17,000, 18,000, we close that gap and bounce. Should we even break that $30,000 mark? It seems like a good time to buy. I'm going to share some news articles with you at the end, right? But I just want to get the Bitcoin analysis done, because there's a lot going on. So we look at that. That's to the downside. That's what I'm looking at to the downside, right? Close below 30,000, I'm out and I'm sitting back for a while, especially on Bitcoin. Today seemed like a shakeout. So let's look what happened. So what we wanted was a close over the 200-day moving average on higher than average volume, and a higher high would have been nice. So, that was happening. Still over the 200-day moving average, everything it needs to do so far, doing everything it needs to do so far. Putting in a higher high would put it back above the previous 2 days candles lows before it took that $30,000 drop. That would be nice. And it's not 100% clear yet, but it's looking like the attention is on Bitcoin and not so much the alts, aside from a few. Then like 10 seconds later, this came out. Awesome. China reiterates call for crackdown on Bitcoin mining and trading. Keyword here, reiterate. So this is literally what was said the day before, and it's just being reiterated. I think it just hit some bigger news channels, so more people saw it, panicked, and that's great. Whatever, we're in a time when the big money has their hands in there now. I think it's just a shakeout. My optimism has actually grown. It's actually increased. So my optimism that we move back up, at least to this 50-day moving average, and it's just right now around 54,000, which probably won't be there when and if we do come up to that. The other mark I'm looking for is the low of this candle right here. Is 47,044. So I could also see that. If we closed above this in the 50-day moving average, I'd start to gain even more conviction. And that's what I would want to see in the longer term. In the shorter term, I do want to see us start closing above the 200-day moving average. We did have one day, and then just what all of the traders were looking for. Let's put in a higher high. Right before we did, boom. China reiterates correct, and that's where it sold off. I bought the dip initially. It started to go up. I did get stopped out right at my buy point. I wasn't willing to lose anything on that. I still wasn't with a high level of conviction. Probably bought around 37. I did buy again, and I bought the altcoin again that I will be talking about. Anyways, we're looking at that, And what I want to see higher highs. I want to see a higher high put in. Why I think it was a shakeout is, this is why you got to let the candles play out. You got to finish out, and you can't have your positions oversized because you're just going to be too emotional, right? And most traders are looking for the break of this previous low, and it did put in a lower low. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm thinking like, yeah, put in a lower high, lower low. We're probably not going to come back up and put in a higher high because we have 40 minutes left in the daily candle. But after thinking about it for a while, really, really pessimistic, thinking, oh, we're coming down lower for sure. Thought about it, I'm like, well, let the candle finish out. If we don't close below this, we're still okay. And especially if we close above the open of yesterday, that would be fine. Like piercing this is fine. Closing below it is a different story. So I think it was just a shakeout, and it's looking to be that way because we really started seeing some bids come in. And that's when, I started to say, okay, on the shorter time frames, and like, if this doesn't hold, then it's just a dead cat bounce. It's shorts covering, and it held, and I got back in, and actually had some stop buys in based on where I sold at, that I wasn't buying above where I sold. Should it start to show some strength? Anyways, back into the daily. We'll see how it plays out. I have a higher level of conviction. I think this was a shakeout, and I know where my downside is protected at, where I want to protect my downside at. So I'm back to 60-40 bullish. I was probably, I think I mentioned 70-30 bearish this whole time here. And I didn't think we were going to stop at 30,000 because I always had thought, well, if we hit 30,000, why wouldn't we come down to 24,000 and at least close this gap? And maybe that's, what I'm wanting to think. But what happens, so last thing, I'll touch on Bitcoin, right? We want to see closes over the 200, and this could take a few days. Still could take a few days. It's like we talked about before. Like even if we close above the 200, we could still come back down below it, come back up above it, come back down below it. It's a really strong level of support on the way down. It's a really strong level of resistance on the way up. Should you be below that? But we came down $13,000 on this candle. And we came down like 22% below the 200-day moving average on this break of it. That's pretty significant. So pretty strong break through it. So I want to see that. And I really want to see above this day's low of 47,044. That might meet the 50-day moving average by that time. Who knows? But definitely going to take a while. I don't see this happening overnight. And you got to ask yourself what your level of conviction is when you're setting up your trades, or whether you're holding long term. If your level of conviction is high, you're willing to hold a little longer term. You're a little more willing to sit through the corrections or the drops. If your level of conviction is low, your trade should be short. You should be taking profits at resistance levels. At least that's how I do it. And right now, my conviction level is kind of growing, and I think there's a few reasons. I'll share some news articles with you and talk a little bit more about what I think is going on. So let's do that now. So I look at it like this. It's like, man, back in the dating days, right? High school, college, whatever. You have a girl you're dating and you think like, man, I kind of want more out of this relationship. Like she needs to show me something. And I just say she just because that's my sexual orientation. Your significant other, if you're a female, dates guys, if you, whatever. I'm just using that as one example. Anyways, she needs to show me something to show that she wants to be in this relationship. Maybe just doesn't seem interested, just hanging out with friends and ditching you. It's like, well, why are you in this relationship? You need to show me something. Well, for me to be in this relationship, Bitcoin needs to show me something, and it's definitely starting to. This bounce off of 30,000. I wish I could have gotten on the exchanges at least for the bounce, even if I had sold it for that day, but I wasn't able to get in until about 37,000. And then I got in actually at 39,999, got stopped out of that, and then I bought the dip, got stopped out of that on a break even, and then I bought back in again. So I've been kind of active, and on a lower conviction level. Now I'm willing to hold a little more on this new buy. Anyways, So I've always looked at stocks like, man, if I was in control of the price, what would I do to screw everybody over? How would I work the price to screw everybody over? So I think that's a little bit what's happening here is the big money's got their hands into it, right? Everybody's making money except them. Finally, they started buying, I think, in like the 30s, 40, 50,000 area. And it's a $500 million, $500 million. So you have these hedge funds that have $30 billion. And let's say you got $30 billion and you make a $500 million buy. Well, you get together with a couple other hedge funds, maybe banks that are also in the same scenario and say, hey, let's make some money on this. So they buy at, let's say, 50,000, $500 million. Great, it runs up to 64,000. You could sell. You don't gotta sell. I doubt any of them did sell. I think the more likely scenario is, hey, let's short this down and let's crush all these margin traders that are making millions of dollars and just holding on margin, on 10 times margin. And that happened like, I just want to say 3, 4, 5 times. And now I'm noticing some people on Twitter saying, oh, I'm done margin trading. People who are margin trading all the time. Done margin trading, done margin. That's all they do is trade in margin. It's an addiction. Anyways, they're out. Maybe that's the goal, is shake them out. Shake out those margin traders, because similar, I've mentioned that I consider it like penny stocks on steroids. Well, in penny stocks, the promoters, can see, it's illegal, but they can see through the CEO and through the company who the shareholders are and how many shares they own. Now, a penny stock can't go up significantly if there's all these people holding that are going to sell for profit, right? So they got to shake them out, shake the tree, and then they pick up what's left, right? So I think that's what's happening. And think about it, like let's say Bitcoin got shorted or whatever, and this is the scenario, down to $10,000, right? That $500,000 or $500 million doesn't mean anything, because now what's going to happen is they're going to throw maybe another $500 million, I don't know, maybe more, maybe $1 billion in, and then they're going to cover their short because they came out ahead on it. This is the long game, right? This is the long game. This is not getting rich overnight. And, they're going to produce some buying pressure and get people think, oh, wow, look, yeah, people are starting to buy Bitcoin again. And then they run it back up. Before you know it, it's past their initial $500 million buy, and they're positive on that. They were positive on their short. They're very positive on their $10,000 buy. So that's kind of, what I can kind of put together going on. And like I said, it's manipulated. It's easily manipulated. So it's not hard to believe that Bitcoin's manipulated. It's very easily manipulated, especially with the supply that it has. It's like a lower float stock. Anyways, let's move on. Bitcoin dominance, right? Showing a bull flag here off the bottom. And this is sometimes how just markets reverse, right? Bitcoin dominance, we've talked about what this actually means. It just shows, how strong is the altcoin market compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's one asset. Altcoins are 6,500, probably more now. But you can see, Bitcoin came down, dominance came up. Just because dominance is going up doesn't mean that Bitcoin's price needs to go up. Anyways, a few altcoins, just because we mentioned before, Ethereum's in the same boat at the 50-day moving average that Bitcoin is at the 200-day moving average. Same kind of scenario. Close under 1900, I'm out for a while, although it's still above the 200-day moving average. Same kind of shakeout today. The market moves how Bitcoin moves. Altcoins move up at a higher percentage. They also move down at a higher percentage, and I showed an example of that, I think, 2 videos ago. Anyways, Solana holding the 50-day moving average. That's really nice to see. That's one that we've been, really big on. Want to see that hold. You have an inside day candle here, so that might be range bound for at least a few more days. You might see it come up to like 45 and down to 39, and just don't get too chopped up there. Aave broke down below the 50-day moving average. Not what you want to see. XRP still holding above the 200-day, but clear breakdown here. And Matic, probably still one of the stronger ones. Similar last 3 candles, right? But still significantly higher than the 50-day moving average. One of the stronger performers. Now, the one that I've been wanting to mention, and the one that I like, is Internet Computer. Now, I do like Matic. I've liked Matic for a while, which is called Polygon. Now I'm going to get onto the Coinbase chart just because they get this goofy wick here, and I don't know if it's real or not. It might have been just like a quick shot up, but 2,831. I think that's a glitch in the chart on Binance. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe some liquidity thing happened where one ICP, and it stands for Internet Computer, not Insane Clown Posse. One ICP got, maybe the liquidity wasn't in place right on the exchange. Anyways, what I like is this right here, this big green volume bar. That's what I like about it. Volume precedes price. Maybe that already happened because it went from 103 to 224. I missed that. I bought in the 160s, got a small gain, got stopped out. Bought again in the 130s. I had a stop order in as it was coming back up just to make sure I wanted, if it was coming back up and showing strength, and I was watching it still to make sure I wasn't just getting my buy filled and then having it come back down. 135, I just wanted to be below where I sold it at. And yeah, I definitely just looking chart wise at this, looking at the Coinbase one, you could see that just listed and it saw a high of 497. So 497 got to shake out here. When cryptos launch, you get some pre-sale people that will just sell because they probably bought it, I don't know, $20 maybe. I'm not saying that is, but a lot of times they're up 500,000% by the time it opens. So obviously smart, take their profits, at least some. I have on pre-sale stuff. Anyways, you don't see the volume bar like you did on Binance, because this was the 11th of May. This was the 10th of May. So it was on Coinbase even earlier. So just Binance showing this volume bar I really, really like. And that's essentially why I like it. We'll see. It's got a higher low. I doubt it'll put in a higher high today, but it's nice to see high volume, green day, higher low. That's good to see. The one thing, I'm not going to get into the fundamentals about it because I read about their ecosystem and stuff like that. And a lot of these cryptos, I don't really care. It's more about, is there something for people to get excited about should the bull market continue, and how excited will they be about it, right? It seems like this is one that people have been starting to get excited about. The one thing I don't like, just launched, it's already number 9. Is that justified? I don't know. It's shown extreme volatility though, so I don't doubt that it can move up very quickly. Maybe back up to 497. Maybe it breaks in the high. I don't know. It seems really strange that it'd be number 9 after just launching. If it moved up more, it'd have to be up like towards Cardano. Market cap of 48 billion. Sorry, this is 17. I mean, if it tripled, it'd be up by Cardano, which doesn't. I don't know. It can happen. It could happen. But that's the one thing I don't like about it. Anyways. To share some news articles, the last thing I just wanted to remind you about is don't get caught up in what these really extremely ultra wealthy people are saying. You never know. Being a business owner, I've owned 5-6 different businesses. I find that I've had 4 partners in one of them. I've been in business on my own. Everybody's looking out for numero uno. They're looking out for number 1, and that's just how it goes. Some are more greedy than others. Some are just making sure that it's fair, but you got to look out for number 1, and it's just their level of how much they're willing to look out for number 1. So Elon Musk says Tesla has diamond hands. Great, wonderful. Tesla hasn't sold. Well, has Elon bought or sold? Has any other institution, any other corporation or whatnot, or have they bought and sold? Because this is like that scenario. Great, you bought at what, 30,000, 35,000 a while ago. Now you might have been shorting from 64,000. Excuse me. I don't know. This could mean multiple things. This doesn't mean like he bought back in the day, at 30,000 or 32,000, and he's been holding, and that's all he's been holding ever since. They did sell 10% to test liquidity of Bitcoin, right? Anyways, JP Morgan, despite the volatility, JP Morgan says it has diamond hands for this regional bank big into crypto. Volatility in the cryptocurrency market this week hasn't changed JP Morgan's optimistic view on shares of Signature Bank, a leader in the digital asset sphere. Here, read through this. So, diamond hands, strong hands, weak hands. In penny stock world, I always sold when people started talking about having strong hands because, they're most times people are saying that so they can try and get everything sold before it tanks. Bitcoin had a pretty significant drop already. Anyways, it's been rumored or thought, or at least perceived that, this tree got shaken, so, big money can get in lower because they wanted to get in lower and not at 60,000. Anyways, whales scooped up $5.5 billion in Bitcoin as Bitcoin price dropped below 36,000. The headline says it all. China banned Bitcoin trading in 2017. So these headlines are just, they're goofy to me because it's like, isn't this just like something that's repeated over and over? So anyways, $5.5 billion. There you go. It's getting bought. That doesn't mean that it can't go lower. And now hopefully, with this mention, what to look for. And this is really the only fundamental analysis I feel like is necessary anymore. I've done my analysis on the tech, when I moved all my money over from my stock account, mainly because not that I put everything into crypto and I was all in, but it's just like I knew focusing on Bitcoin, how fast it was moving in cryptocurrency, that I wasn't going to be able to focus on stocks really at all. And it was like, wow, this had actually evolved a little bit. And just the main thing, the number one thing is the staking of stable coins. So staking in stable coins talks about allows you to lend say you have USD coin. It allows you to lend your USD coin and lock it up for a predetermined amount of time. So some are a day, some are 72 hours, and then Polkadot I think is 30 days or 60 days. And that's the only reason why I didn't like staking Polkadot, is because I'm like, well, what if a crash happens and I can't get it out for 20 days? I did one time, and it was like, oh man, I don't want to do that again. Anyways, so you lend it, and then you lock it up in a separate account, and they use that to lend to exchanges in which they get a percentage, and they pass along some or all of that percentage to you. So some of these stable coins, like USD coin on Swissborg in a premium account, offers 30% staking rewards. You get 30% on something that's always going to be $1. What bank does that? So I was, that's what really interested me, is when I saw stuff like that going on. I'm like, what is staking? What is staking? And I had been in around September or October, whenever I remember being back in Ohio, and XRP was like 16 cents. I haven't held it since then. And if you're watching the videos, you'll know my story with that XRP dropping around Christmas time because of the SEC information. Anyways, that's what I like. And that's, the fundamental, I was, this is getting big again, and it's evolved. So I want to get into it. I took a programming course. I learned a lot, and then I just stopped. I'm like, this isn't for me. I just want to trade it. Anyways, Will Wu doesn't think Bitcoin's overall upward run has ended. I don't either. Popular Bitcoin analyst Willie Wu noted a few signs and symptoms indicating the BTC bull run still has some juice left. Let's see, there were some key points here if you want to read through this. These are all on Cointelegraph. So this is just the middle of the bull market derivatives unwind. Wu said of the current state of Bitcoin, Bitcoin reached around 65,000 in April. Based on TradingView data, subsequently the asset declined down below 50,000 for a period, recovered above the level for a time, nearly reaching 60,000 before the beginning of its descent down to the 30,000 range. I think it'll take a bit of time to recover, as we were just talking about, just from the sheer amount of coins that we dumped out. Wu said, I think ultimately, if you look at the network health, this is a good thing, he said, seemingly referring to the overall situation. I will say that a lot of these bull runs, go look at GameStop's chart, 50% drops followed by 200% rises. It does get crazy. 60% drops are possible. So it's not out of the question to take a 65% drop and then continue back upwards. We all know, hopefully now, what to be looking for on the downside. You have your risk managed. Trade on margin if you want, but I do, but I trade. I don't, continue to hold it. I've taken some pretty significant losses in holding too long on there. So it does happen. Lastly, has Wall Street taken over Bitcoin? This is, something you could watch or read. It's just what we were talking about. Yes, Wall Street has their hands in Bitcoin. And now it's controlled. Now it's not as easy as it was, where it just goes up nonstop. So now comes the real work and the real thinking. Anyways, that's where I want to leave off today. My optimism is growing in Bitcoin for multiple reasons. And I have my area where I will protect my downside. And I have, my trading setups based on and strategies based on my conviction level. And I am watching altcoins. However, with Bitcoin dominance rising, we've seen in the past Bitcoin going up significantly, from 10,000 to 50,000 before altcoins started, going up with it, and then they went up. It's kind of how the cycle works sometimes. I'm not saying that is what's going to happen, but mainly focused on Bitcoin, especially because the altcoins are really responding the same way to the way Bitcoin is. And maybe altcoins are something you want to trade just because they are showing more significant gains. Just realize that they show more significant losses as well. So hopefully, this has been informative for you, at least giving you some insight on downside, helped you maybe solidify your plan and your strategy. And, hopefully my thoughts have been helpful. And if that is the case, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. I would appreciate it greatly. Be safe, because, market crashes have happened. Bitcoin crashes have happened. Always protect your downside. Always put stop losses in place. Because you could see what can happen literally overnight. And, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. So that's a saying that I always liked. I also like the saying, I've been successful because I never buy the bottom and I always sell too early, right? So that's just saying that you're never going to catch the bottom. So wait, be patient for clarification on which direction it's heading. Like, it's still, no clarification. Even though I'm gaining optimism towards the upside, again, we have some things on the horizon that I really didn't talk about, one of them being the ETF. And, so there's some significant things on the horizon, Bitcoin trusts, and, there are some catalysts out there. So, as long as where you're willing to be, what your risk level is on the way down and on the way up, then, you're set. You don't have to be the best trader. And I don't consider myself the best trader who recognizes every single chart pattern. But I know my risk level and I know my risk tolerance. And most of the time I am I follow my targets on the way down and on the way up. So I'd say 95%. That 5% of the time I don't, always makes me realize it should be 100%. So anyways, hopefully this has helped you. Again, one more time, reminding you, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time, probably after the weekend. So have a good one, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye.